Welcome to this week's Facebook Live. My name is Deborah Byrne from Deborah Byrne Psychology Services, known across social media as DBpsychology. So today I'm going to talk about this week's blog, as I usually do, which was all about, one simple habit that I used personally to change my life. And in the blog, I do discuss the fact that I had PTSD back in 2009. I was diagnosed with it. And one of the steps that I took was to learn meditation. And it was to me, it was a brilliant habit that I got into. And it is a habit. Meditating is a habit. Now, a lot of people will be turned off when they hear the word meditation. They think you have to sit around, just like I did, you have to sit around chanting and you have to make your mind go blank, and it doesn't do that. I mean, that's not what meditation is about. There are many forms of meditation as well that you can take. So even if you've tried it in the past, think about, maybe trying a different variety for you. Now, yesterday in my group, I did a full training on this very blog, and it took over an hour. So I can't sit here and talk for over an hour in the group on this forum today. But what I will do is I'm going to hit on some of the points, the main points that I covered yesterday in my group training with my mums. So if you'd like to join and like to take part in that full training, it's there on replay in the group. So I'm leaving a link in the description below where you can check out and join the group, Less Stress, More Successful Mums. Or if you just want to read the blog in its entirety, then you can just click the link for the blog, which I'll also leave in the description below. So let's get talking about, action steps and habits, which I started to talk about last week in last week's blog. And, habits, if you look at them, they're one form or way of alleviating our stress or anxiety or depression, etc. They help us change our lifestyle. In the case of some of them, and that includes, meditation, it can also help us to start rewiring the brain or reframing how we think, our negative thinking. And meditation really is brilliant at doing that. And it's one of the reasons why I included it in my book as the building blocks of self-care. It's one of the foundation stones that I used in recovery to get me through PTSD and help with my own anxiety. And it has, I found it had huge beneficial effects on my own life. And I've never looked back. I really have never looked back. And as I said, it doesn't matter which meditation you choose, but do choose one. Now, I've said to my mums that they should try even a 3-minute breather every time they pop to the loo. And I think I've mentioned it here before as well. You're busy. As parents, we're busy. And right now, we're trying to homeschool as well. And we're so, so busy. We don't have time to sit down. We don't have time to catch our breath some days. But you do have to pop off to the loo. So it is a place maybe where you do get a couple of minutes by yourself. And if you can simply put up, I talked about the cues last week, simply put up a cue on the wall in the bathroom that says breathe. You can remind yourself to take even a few deep breaths. I've talked about, and I've done a full video on the 7-11 technique. You're simply counting in for a count of 7 and out for a count of 11. And it's that out count, the longer breath out, that helps to calm down the mind. But this morning, I just wanted to, touch on a few benefits that meditation can have for you. As I said, this whole training runs for about an hour in the group. So I'm not going to get through all the benefits this morning. But a few of them that I'd like to highlight, you're giving your brain a holiday. When you take even 15 minutes, if you can work it up to, 10 to 15 minutes of meditation a day, you're really giving your head a holiday. You're giving your brain a break. Because what you're trying to do there is, and what you are achieving in fact, is you're helping your brain to slow down. And what we do there is when we help the brain slow down, we can get more in touch with what we're actually thinking, what we're actually feeling. That then in turn enables us to challenge our negative thinking patterns. And then if we challenge them, we can then go ahead and change them. So it really is one of the best tools that you can use to help rewire your brain from this negative bias. And I've talked about negative bias before, but if you want a full training on negative thinking and, a full training on, this negative bias, then come into the group, because there's a whole unit on it. There's a huge unit in the group, and you can do it in your own time. You can pace it out. You can start to work through it, but then you also have my support in the group as well, that you can private message me, you can talk to me, and we can, work through it together. So, the meditation, along with, I have found gratitude, which I've also included in the book, affirmations, journaling, and what I've called magic moments. Now, you're not going to be familiar with that, because this is something I only do in my group. And these magic moments are where we can look for moments of positivity in our lives. And I go into that in more detail. But they're really good. It's a really good tool for changing your thinking, for really rewiring that brain. Of course, with another benefit of meditation is it's reducing your stress. It's reducing that stress, those stress hormones in the body. And this is why I say to my mums, do 3 minutes even throughout the day. Every time you pop to the loo, do a few deep breathing exercises in the loo while you're there, because it's like a reset point. You're resetting your brain, resetting those hormones, those stress hormones that are flooding through your system, because your stress is building. Pop off to the loo, reset yourself. Even before a meeting, to reset yourself, do some deep breathing exercises to help bring back down your stress and anxiety. And again, it has also been used to improve your sleep, meditation. And that is why in the book I put meditation first and sleep a second, as the second foundation stone of your I call it the collapse point, but your basics of self-care. One knocks onto the other, but they also lay a really good solid foundation to help you recover. So meditation, and then I talk about sleep, but the meditation has a really good impact on improving your sleep, if you can do that. And the way it does that, it actually helps to train, as I said, it trains the brain to slow down, but it also helps train the brain to drop down into the lower brain frequencies that our brain works at. Our brain works at different levels and different levels of frequency. So it trains the brain to drop down into that lower level. And therefore we can actually train our brain to go back asleep if we do wake up, and I can do that. I've been doing meditation now for a long time, and I can now just instruct my brain, no, go back asleep. And I do. And if I'm having trouble, I'd start doing some meditation, and I quickly fall back into a good solid sleep. The other thing that you're training your brain to do with is to go up into the higher frequencies. Now we have a high frequency called beta, and this is where we do the GTD, the get things done, right? We're supposed to just dip in and out of it. And this is where, our stress levels, our stress hormones come in naturally. They get us to, they build up, we get a little bit anxious, we need to do something, we get a little bit stressed, we dip in, we do it, we do the presentation, we hit the brake on the car, we do stuff. So you're jumping in and out of beta, but the whole idea is we're not supposed to stay in beta. Unfortunately, if you're constantly in faced with crisis after crisis after crisis. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's your job. You could be at home and you're dealing with constant stress. Then you can get stuck up in that beta mode, and you can get addicted to the stress hormones. Okay, so with the meditation, we can actually train our brain to go up into a higher frequency again, which isn't as detrimental to us. And this is called gamma. And what we want to do there is, getting into this allows us to become super focused. And it allows us to pass the information and process the information from different parts of our brain quite easily, a lot better. So it's good for high level problem solving. It's good for our ability to learn and our memory, and as I said, information processing. But it's really hard to actually get into that state. And you've probably already experienced it. If you do something that you really enjoy, sometimes people get caught up in maybe artwork or something like that, or some sort of craft or hobby, or go out and play a game that you really like, a sport that you really like maybe, and you look up and suddenly realize, oh, it's 2 hours later, and where did that time go? You've gone into the flow state, you've gone into this gamma state, you've really enjoyed so much what you're doing that you've lost track of time. This is where we get into it with gamma. We call it the flow state. A lot of endurance runners will talk about it. The marathon runners will talk about it. So, you can train your brain to get into this if you have a consistent meditation practice. So you'd want to be doing it even for 10 to 15 minutes a day, but hopefully you might do it for a little bit longer. And therefore train your brain to get into this higher level. A few other benefits that meditation can bring to you is that, it releases dopamine, which is the feel-good hormone. So therefore, that's going to improve, your mood. We talk about doing exercise and that helping to improve our mood. But meditation can also help to improve your mood. It also increases the grey matter, which is great at staving off dementia. You will find also that you're going to have more awareness, more compassion, be less judgmental with yourself and others. That improves your relationships as well. And all of this is proved by research that has been done. Our blood pressure drops. That's great news for your heart, for a risk of heart attacks and stroke. But our digestive system also relaxes. So we're better able to process our foods, to have better vitamin absorption, and that's really important right now for our immune system. We don't want our immune system to be compromised. And pain relief is another reason. It was one of the real reasons I stuck with it. Not just I found the benefit of recovering from PTSD, but it gave me. I suffer from arthritis, and it really does help with pain relief in that sense. So as I said, this is one of the tools that I put into the toolbox for the building blocks of self-care. And to me, that is your collapse point. It is very good at reducing your stress levels, very good at helping anxiety and depression. And that list, as I said, is by no means all inclusive. As I said at the start, this whole training took me over an hour in my mum's group yesterday. So if you do want to check it out, put it into place. Now, a couple of pointers that I have put in the blog that I thought you might be interested in. If somebody said, oh, no, I don't want to do meditation, I have to sit around umming and I have to make my mind go blank. That's rubbish. That's complete rubbish. One, it doesn't matter which meditation practice you pick. You pick one. The only caveat I would say about mindfulness is, please do it with a qualified therapist. Someone who has the qualifications to support you if you have suffered trauma in the past. Mindfulness can bring up trapped trauma, so you have to be aware of that. So you do really need the person you're working with to be able to fully support you, to help you there. But other forms of meditation may also do that, but haven't really been highlighted in that way. So if you're a couple of pointers, maybe answering some of your questions. Oh, I don't want to do meditation. If you're not convinced by, the benefits that you will receive, you know, people ask questions like, I can't get my head to go blank. It's normal for your mind to wander. That is completely normal. And it'll continue to wander no matter how long you meditate for. Many years. You can meditate for many years, your mind will wander. That's what it does. Your job, in fact, when you're meditating, is to either focus on counting, which is one form of meditation, or focus on the breath. Or if you were doing a walking meditation, maybe you'd focus on the contact your soles of your feet would do with the floor. But your job, every time your mind wanders, is to bring the focus back to the breath or the counting. Yes, the longer you do meditation, the longer the period between which your mind will wander and your focus on the breath will happen. It does get easier with practice. But think about it as training a puppy. Our minds, right now, you may be somebody who's stressed or anxious, and you want some way to calm the mind, to reduce your stress levels, to reduce your anxiety levels. Think about your mind as a puppy, a new puppy who you have to train to walk on a lead. It's running all over the place. This is your mind. It's going, all over the place, jumping all over the place. What your job is to do is just bring it back during meditation, is just to bring it back to heel, and focus on the breath. You need a little bit of patience with yourself to do that. And that can be really hard, but it's doable. As one person said, and I thought it was a really good analogy, if you can worry, you can meditate. Because you can, your mind will still wander, but you'll learn to bring it back to center, to focus just on the breathing, just on the counting. The other thing I'd say to you is, if meditation hasn't worked for me in the past, have you set up a queue? I'd ask you, have you set up a queue? So I talked last week in terms of setting up habits and setting up these cues, and what that means is you attach it to something that's already in your life that you do automatically. So, a classic one would be to attach it to something like breakfast or lunch. And, I said last week about attaching a walk to get yourself up and walking, that you would attach it to lunchtime, that you would do it automatically first thing after lunch. In this case, you could do it first thing after breakfast. You could say, okay, I'm going to meditate now for 3 minutes or 5 minutes after breakfast. You need to have something to anchor it, and the cue is your anchor, to try and anchor in this new habit of meditation into your life. The other thing people say is, I can't sit still. I've been meditating and it was grand, and then suddenly I can't sit still. That's fine. This is your body flooded probably with the stress hormones, right? You're agitated. Get up and walk. It's okay to move, to get up and pace the room. Keep your eyes open, but pace the room and still focus on your breath or focus on the counting. But you can pace the room. It'll use up that energy that you have, that agitation inside of you. You're going to use up those stress hormones. The other idea I would suggest to people, and I do suggest to people, is you go for a walk before you meditate. If you find you're particularly anxious, go for a walk and then come back and do your meditation. This again can help use up those excess stress hormones in your body. Another thing people say, I keep falling asleep. Yes, you can fall asleep. And no, that doesn't mean you're doing your meditation wrong. It's fine. You can fall asleep. You're not doing anything wrong. Don't worry about it. If you find that that is the case, perhaps you could use your meditation to help you fall asleep at night. Or perhaps, don't do it lying down. Or, maybe do it while, pace the room and do it like that. Or, do it sitting up, or do it first thing in the morning. Sometimes it's better, we're more alert, so do it first thing in the morning. The other thing people notice is, oh, I get really cold when I'm sitting doing a meditation. Again, that can happen. So be prepared. I talked last week about the trips and the traps. I feel uncomfortable then. I can't focus on my breathing. I can't focus on the count. I'm too cold. Be prepared. Put on an extra cardigan. Throw your coat over your shoulders. Maybe lay a blanket over your legs if that's where you feel it. So think about trips and traps when you're setting up this kind of new any sort of new habit. We have to think ahead. What trips and traps could there be that will help me avoid those trips and traps? What can I do? So I will leave it there. As I said, the entire training on this it runs for over an hour. It includes a mindfulness session. I've already done training on the 7-11 technique in the group. You're more than welcome to join us. We do a lot of things every week, a lot of action steps that we can take. I base it on awareness, acceptance and action. So these are one of our action steps. I always try and base it around that when I'm working with people. And come along, join in, take the different courses that are in there already, and you can ask me questions at any time when you're in the group. You can private message me. So have a think about it. If that's not for you, you think, no, I can't do that, I don't want to join any groups, just have a read of the blog and have a read of other blogs that I have up there. I have lots of blogs up there at this point. I have a lot of podcasts and videos up there. So do check them out at www.deborahbyrnepsychologyservices.com. Good morning, Deirdre. I hope the video went out okay. Facebook is mucking around this morning, okay? I'm hoping it's not. I hope it has recorded because I was looking at my notes. So I wasn't quite watching the screen. So I'm hoping that it went out okay this morning. And I will talk to you all next week. And thank you all for watching.